So women are doing less work at home. They're doing less work at home. They're getting more angry. They're more unhappy. Divorce rates are skyrocketing. And men don't want to marry you, also because of feminist divorce laws, by the way. And women say, I don't care, I don't need a man, till they realize they're hitting that age where that window is closing. Biology is real, despite what Cosmo tells you. And here's the big thing people don't know. There was a huge anti-suffrage movement. When people talk about the good old days, where women didn't want. They didn't want the right to vote.
That was right-wing crybaby Steven Crowder. And he's concerned that today's women are too busy exercising their rights to do laundry and have children. And in one of Crowder's most boneheaded historical takes yet, he wants you to believe that most women didn't even want the right to vote. Strap in, because Lil Stevie's not done yet.
Men who voted were eligible for the draft. They had to pay taxes. There was bucket duty, which is mandatory voluntary firefighter service. Right. Women at that point in history, not understanding that they would get all of the benefits without any of the accountability, said, oof, we don't want to do that. When people talk about, oh, how awful the old days were and how great it is for women now, or how it's good, but we still have a long way to go. Well, what do you mean a long way? Down the slope?
Let's talk about Crowder's bad history lesson first. Passing a constitutional amendment is hard. Like, really hard. And it took a huge majority of American women, and many male allies across the country, decades to move our system towards giving women the right to vote. But there were some women who opposed the 19th Amendment. They're an interesting bunch. But who were those traditionalist women? According to historians, they largely came from the elite, extremely wealthy Northeast. That includes Josephine Jewel Dodge, who founded the nation's only major women-led anti-suffrage group. And it should be no surprise to find out that group was funded and boosted by some very powerful and very conservative men, including Dodge's father, the governor of Connecticut. Dodge's group claimed that voting would stress women out. It would make them ugly. It would emasculate their husbands if they disagreed over who to vote for. It would make women value their vote more than their babies. But just like Crowder's fake outrage, the anti-suffrage movement was an astroturfed effort by elites to sway working-class women, and it failed. Bigly. Crowder doesn't care about his history because his outrage isn't actually about women's right to vote. It's about women's right to make their own choices at all. That's how Republicans can support banning abortion while also opposing any efforts to support needy families. Here's Wisconsin's Ron Johnson making that perfectly clear. According to the GOP, it isn't society's responsibility to take care of other people's children, but forcing you to have them is just fine. In the eyes of the GOP, having babies is the only thing women are actually meant to do.
If they would have told the truth, if they said, do you respect the precedent established by Roe versus Wade, Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh, and if they would have answered, no, I don't respect Roe and I don't respect its precedent, there would have been hell to pay, and they would have never been confirmed. Yeah, so instead they lied under oath, and they were appointed to a lifetime position. That's scary. This 6-3 majority is not going away, ladies and gentlemen, for decades.
And that regressive view is now enshrined in law, thanks to Samuel Alito and a compromised Supreme Court. In Alito's opinion overturning Roe versus Wade, he argues that women's right to control their own body must compete with a state's interest in protecting, quote, potential life. And according to Alito, the state should win that conflict, not the woman. Alito and the Supreme Court's extremist Republicans believe that a woman can only exercise her rights fully up until the moment of conception. In other words, once a woman gets pregnant, she stops being a full citizen with full rights and becomes, quote, an interest for the state to regulate. This leads to a really sticky situation. As legal scholar Lawrence Tribe points out, the moment of conception isn't an actual moment. In fact, no scientific bodies anywhere in the world believe conception can be pinpointed to any specific moment. Only religious leaders claim to be able to pinpoint that moment of conception. That's probably not the best standard for making laws. Wow, we've wandered pretty far away from Steven Crowder, like most people do given the choice, but Crowder's argument that society was more stable when women were less free is now popping up in the nation's highest court. And when the Supreme Court is using Crowder logic, we're in real trouble. The hard-fought battle for women's rights has always pitted women as free and equal citizens against a conservative and often religious opposition. It's no mistake that one of the sources Samuel Alito cited in his decision was Sir Matthew Hale, a 17th century wingnut who believed husbands should be allowed to rape their wives and sentenced women to death for being witches. Yeah, for real. Crowder may be a moron, but he and Sam Alito and the GOP are just the latest goons to argue that women's value as baby incubators is more important than their individual freedom. This is a long and unbroken tradition based in conservative Christian values that think God created women to bear children, and nothing else. To them, giving women the right to vote wasn't just a mistake, it was a sin. And for Crowder and Republicans, the only way to correct that sin is to roll the clock back. Way back. It's no coincidence that the GOP's toxic blend of abortion bans and lack of funding for mothers in need means fewer women will be in the workforce. It's also no coincidence that pregnant women and mothers without support are less likely to vote. Republicans know they don't have the support to repeal the 19th Amendment, so they're doing the next best thing. They're forcing women out of the political process. It's up to us to fight back. If you made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. Please leave a like and consider subscribing. And leave a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.